Chapter 19 is all complete. All of those notes that I've shown you were presented in the book. However, of course, I present in a much more clear way. If you want a revision, then you can use my notes or you can use the book. Either way, there's going to be a similarity there, but I will always provide more examples and more notes, which leads us to chapter 20. Now, the passive we will do a little bit later. For now, I want us to go into theory of these verb classes. Before we do that, I want to give us a quick interpretation of this verse. So you've done Yogasta Kuru Karmani, Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya, Siddhya Siddhyoho Samo Bhutva, Samatvam Yoga Uchate. Okay. So Yogastaha Kuru Karmani. So Kuru, what is Kuru?
Do.
I guess so. In other words, imperative. So kuru karmani. So do all actions. Yoga staha. The staha means established. So you put any noun plus staha that equals established in, and then whatever this noun happens to be. You can say established in happiness. Sukha staha. Okay. So established in yoga in this case. Do actions. And then sangam tyaktva. So tyaktva, twa, wa at the end, long A is always a gerund. So therefore, having abandoned attachment, Arjuna. So after having abandoned attachment, do actions and be established in yoga, Arjuna. Siddhao, in perfection, asiddhao. Right. So this is, I'm using the Muni paradigm now. Muni paradigm on LRB 4. So siddhao, asiddhao, in other words, in perfection, and asiddhao in non-perfection. Now, if you combine those together, you have a dvandva iteretara, siddhya siddhyoho. In other words, in perfection and in non-perfection, in success or in failure. Bhutva again is gerund, having become balance, samaha is balanced, having become balanced in perfection and failure. Uchyate we will learn, called passive. Remember, you just go root plus ya plus atmanepana equals passive. So it is, so what is called yoga. So it is called yoga being in a state of samatvam. Remember when you say plus tvam, right? Noun plus tvam equals state of, and then whatever that noun means. Samatvam. So tvam at the end always means that word, state of that word. So yoga is called a state of balance. So what is yoga? Well, it's a state of balance. Okay, so this verse we have already done somewhat. And the only new mood, or the only new grammatical component we'll learn is this passive, as I said later on. Let's cover the oral tradition of teaching, how it used to be taught in those days, how youth learned in the ancient India. After the ceremony, they lived in a teacher's house. It's just general notes what it's saying in this chapter. For 12 years. Imagine that, living in the Gurukula for 12 years. Say goodbye to your parents until 25, and then out of 25, you leave your home and you have completed your brahmacharya status. And then how was Sanskrit taught? It was taught with recitation and memorization. Per the Rig Samhita, this is obviously Rig, it's going to be a Rig because of Sanghi, that's why you have a Rig Veda. Per the Rig Veda, what is learning? How to describe learning? It is hearing and repeating another speech. That's how we used to learn. Hear and repeat, not write down and then figure out. And then learning the verses was divided into 3 speeds. Druta, quick and melted. So for example, Abhyaso nahi tyaktavyo, Abhyaso hi parambalam. So we just go quick. And then we have Matya, medium. Abhyaso nahi tyaktavyo, and then you repeat. Abhyaso nahi tyaktavyo, Abhyaso hi parambalam, Abhyaso hi parambalam. And then Vilambita, slow, how most verses are taught. This will be Abhyaso, Abhyaso, nahi, nahi, tyaktavyo, tyaktavyo. So we slow down. How was literature preserved? Nowadays, we digitize it. Back in those days, we preserved it on dried palm leaves. And you put those dried palm leaves in the sun and you apply oil onto them. And then once the oil is on there, then it produces a layer whereby you can inscribe the letters in the local language. It's stylus incision. There's some history there. Okay, so that's simple history of our Vedic tradition. Now, continuing, we're now going to go into verb classes. So I will attempt to cover from page 24. See all of this text. It's much more interesting to do it in color. So let's get on to that. So we are about to learn about verb classes. As we know or may not know, the language, Sanskritam, consists of 2,200, 300 plus minus roots. What is a root? It is the essence from which the stem gets built. And onto the stem, we attach the ending. So by recognizing the root, we can recognize the entire word. Now, when I talk about verb classes in this session, I'm only going to be referring to those roots which form a verb. I'm not going to be talking about nouns like nara or raja, but like gum or p or pa or g or ni. So all of these are roots. And then from these verb roots, we will create this paradigm like gachami, gachasi, gachati, gachavaha, gachataha, gachataha, okay, etc. All verb stems fall under 10 classes. So say jaya, or we've got chintaya, we've got pibba for drink, we've got kada for eat, we've got smara for remember. So all of these are stems. So this means when you see a stem like smara, for example, right? This smara comes from a root, obviously smr. Now in Sanskrit, we also have these names that will be important if you would like to go into this deeper, because in the courses, usually they will use the Sanskrit names instead of the English. So it's a good idea to at least go through this once. The verb class names in Sanskrit. Repeat. Bhavadihi, bhavadihi. And it's actually sandhi. It says bhu adihi. Now, adihi means beginning. In other words, beginning with bhu. Now, what is a root that we have already studied? Bhu. That is class 1 parasmaipada. So in other words, beginning with bhu. So bhavati. So in other words, okay, bhavadihi. Class 2 is adadihi. Repeat, adadihi. Class 3, johotyadihi. Johotyadihi. Class 4, divadihi. Class 5, swadihi. 6, tudadihi. 7, rudhadihi. 8, tanadihi. We will do class 8 in this session. Class 9, kriyadihi. Class 10, churadhihi. Okay, so moving on. Now let's go on to the actual classes and learn about them. Okay, so here's the general outline. All 10 classes can be divided into 2 categories. Category 1 is the class 1, 4, 6, and 10. The one that you see on the monitor now. 1, 4, 6, and 10. These are the easy ones because they all end with a. That means every single stem in class 1, 4, 6, and 10 ends in a. It will never end in o or any kind of consonant or any kind of vowel other than short a. Therefore, it's only a matter of attaching the endings. So that's why we say, gacha plus T, gacha plus C, gacha plus amaha, gachamaha. Okay, so they're very easy. Now let's go through how do you construct class 1. Okay, so we're going to go through all of these classes, 1, 4, 6, and 10s. 30% of roots in this class in Sanskrit. So this is the biggest class that we have. How to form? You go guna of root plus a plus declension. This is how to form class 1s. For example, you can look at the Devanagari if you want. I will use the Latin in this case. Smr, so this is obviously class 1p. So you say smr. Now what is a guna of vocalic r? It is ar. So therefore smar. So I've just replaced this pink with the guna. And then plus a, sma, smara, smara. And then you just add the ending, smarati. It's very easy, isn't it? Okay. I hope you're shaking heads because it's not much complication. Okay. Vad, same thing. Vad, vada, t. Shubha. Again, you see that u equals o, shobha, and then shobha, and then shobhate. Obviously, this would be an atmanepada. Now, how to know if root will undergo a guna change? You're saying, okay, so here I have this root. Suppose I give you a list of roots, and I say of class 1, and suppose I give you class 1 roots. And you say, how do I know if this root undergoes guna or not? There's a rule. The root's vowel should be final. Okay, C above A. See how the root vowel is final? Okay, so it's the final vowel of the root. That means right at the end. So in other words, if the root has a vowel that goes all the way at the end, then make it guna. Next, root's final vowel is root's vowel is short, plus followed by one consonant, one, not two. For example, see va, okay, so that's a short vowel, and there's one consonant. Therefore, we apply, in this case, guna, there's no change. But how about this, shub? So there's short vowel plus one consonant. And therefore, we have to do guna increase, shobha. Again, you've got one vowel plus one consonant, hence we make guna increase. Okay, so these are two rules. And here's an example where no change occurs from these two rules that I've just mentioned. Okay, chint. Okay, well, we have two consonants. See that? Two consonants. Therefore, there is no increase. It's not chentayati. It's still chintayati. And also, jiv is supposed to be a short vowel, but this is a long vowel. You see that? So therefore, it remains exactly the same. Okay, jivati or something. Bhash, again, you got long vowel. Therefore, the rules do not apply. So it's still bhashate. It's not bhashate, it's bhashate. Okay, continuing. 3 rules that applies to, and by the way, this rule that I just mentioned, this whole section, it applies to roots 1, 2, 3, and 10. So in other words, these rules, in other words, you apply guna changes to what class roots? You apply it to class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 10. Okay, further 3 rules on how to construct roots. Rule 1, if the root ends in I or E or U and U, we'll look at this column first, then this I or E should replace into I at the end. For example, see this G for conquer? Well, there it is, G, G. And I said, replace it with I at the end. Therefore, Jai. And then Jai plus A, Jayati, conquer. How about Bhu? Bhu, okay. So if the root ends in U or U, then replace it, then make the stem Av. So Bhu into Bho. You upgrade it, and then you upgrade it further into Bhav, Bhavati. So now you're saying, how do you go from Bhu into Bhav? Well, there it is. It undergoes one change, it undergoes two changes. Again, Ni, that's now we're looking at the short E above, into Ne, into Nai, Nayati, Nayati, lead. So what is the purpose of this discussion so far? It is to help you see how is there such a discrepancy between the stem and the root, and how do we arrive to the stem? So it's a little bit of reassurance there. You don't really have to know this. However, if you really want to go deeper into this, then it will be useful. Okay, the second rule is some stems form from vriddhi of root. Now, we just said that most of these stems are from guna, yeah? Now, some stems will not take the guna, they will take the vriddhi. I've not come up to an example of this. However, if you do see, then you understand. And some stems have irregular formations. For example, gum. Now, where's the connection between gum and cha? Right? How did this m turn into a cha? That's called irregularity. Another irregularity. How do you go from sta, which is to stand, into tishta? Where's the tid here, right? Again, that's the irregularity. Or pa, for pibati, drink, into piba, because pa, strengthening, there's no such thing as e. You see that? So that's called irregularity. There's no rule that you come up with that is going to logically, maybe there is in the Panini grammar, which I haven't come up to yet, not deeply enough, but maybe there is, but these are just called irregularities. Okay. Rule 3. If the declension starts with m or v, so for example, gachami, right? Or gachavaha, right? We two go. So that's m or v. Then add a before it. For example, bhava, bhavami. Since the declension starts with a m, you add a. Therefore, it's bhavami. That's why it's a long a. Again, bhavavaha, bhavamaha. So now you know why is it long a. Okay, class 4. These are the short ones. So I gave you the big picture of the class 1, 4, 6, and 10s. Class 4, how to form. Easy. Root plus ya. That's it. Man ya. Manyate. Things. Div ya. Again, you could do a little strengthening because of the rule we just said. You know, if there's a short vowel and it's followed by one consonant, then it's div. Do the root. Divyati, he shines. Okay, so, okay, before I continue talking, how about I ask a question? Shiva, how do you construct class 1?
So you take the guna of the root, add a, and then decline it.
Super.
That's the
class 6, how to form root plus a plus declension. Tud a t. Okay, root doesn't change. There's no guna, any of that. Plus a plus, well, declension. So it's just like class 4. It's as simple as class 4. However, there's no ya. So class 6, just a instead of ya. You see this? Class 4, ya. Class 6, a. Okay.
And Ray, are we going to be tested on this? It's so complex.
No, don't worry. This is just theory for now, and then I'll start to include more and more revisions into it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, rule. Some roots take nasal before final consonant. So this is for class 6 now we're talking about. For example, vid. Now, vid also has, from Veda. It also comes from to know. This is a different vid. So vid plus a. Now, this root in particular would take a n, a nasal. N means n, just n. Vinda. So vindati, he finds. So in this root would take a nasal. Or much, muncha, munchati. See the nasal right there? Nasal right there. The pink, he releases, or what's called moksha is from which. So muncha, he releases or he lets go. What is this? Spelling mistake. Okay. Class 10, how to form. Again, we've got now guna. So we're going back to class 1 like guna change. Plus aya. The most common one that we know is chint. Chintaya, chintayati, he thinks. Or churaya. Again, you got this guna change. So this was the easy ones. Now the not so easy ones, which is non 1, 4, 6, and 10s. That means whatever's left, that's the non-easy ones. Now, why are they not easy? Well, first of all, the stems do not end in a. So 1, 4, 6, and 10s, they all end in a. That's why they're easy. Non 1, 4, 6, and 10s, because they don't end in a, what does that mean? When you combine them with the declension, it's going to produce internal sandhi changes. Therefore, for that reason alone, they're not easy. Furthermore, the stems of non 1, 4, 6, and 10s are divided into 2 categories called strong and weak. The strong ones, whenever I say strong, they will mean basically singular. When I say weak, they will mean either dual or plural. So, in other words, the stems for singular column, like gachami, gachasi, gachati, they will be different than the stems for dual and plural. So, in other words, the book or in the courses will say the stems are either weak or strong. Now, easy way to understand this is when they say strong, for example, it just means the singular column. When they say weak, it just means the dual and the plural column. That is it. Okay, so let's do our first class, non 1, 4, 6, 10, class 8. So question is how to construct class 8s. Here it is, singular column and dual plural. In other words, we got strong and we've got weak. Or we'll just call it singular and dual plural. Okay, root plus o plus declension. First one is tano, in other words, tano plus t. So nothing new there, parasmaipada. Tano ti, here it is. So we're looking at singular column only now. Tanomi, I stretch. Tanoshi. Now notice how it's supposed to be si, right? Tanosi, like gacha si. Because of the internal sandhi changes. That's why it's shi and not si. And then tanoti. Okay, so nothing new here. You just say mi, si, and ti. Same thing as we already know. And then dual plural, root plus u. Tan u, there it is. Tanu, tanu, tanu. Clear so far? Tanu, tanu, tanu. See how it's different? Tano, 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 and you got tanu, 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 tanu. Okay, you see how there's a difference?
But why
Now-
is it te rather than t? Or why is it te? I don't get
No,
that.
that's what I mean.
the ending.
That's my mistake there. Now notice how there's a sanhi, again, internal sanhi, because tanu plus anti, tanu plus anti, the u plus a changes into a v. Therefore, it's tanvanti. Is that clear? Tanvanti. Repeat. Tanomi, I stretch. Tanoshi, you stretch. Tanoti, he, she, or it stretches. Now, tanuvaha, we stretch, we too. Tanutaha, you too stretch. Tanutaha, they too stretch. Tanumaha, tanumaha, we all stretch. Tanuta, just like gachata, nothing new here. We all, you all stretch. And then tanvanti, they all stretch. Okay. So Smriti, do this paradigm for me out loud starting from
Tanomi, Tanoshi, Tanoti, Tanuvaha, Tanutaha. Oh, it's the same thing. Tanutaha. Tanumaha.
This is aspiration. Tanutaha, tanutaha.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Tanutaha and Tanutaha. Tanumaha, Tanutha, Tanvanti.
Okay, Mina, same thing. I want us to listen and really memorize this as Mina and the rest of us say it out loud.
Tanomi, Tanoshi, Tanoti. Tanuvaha, Tanuthaha, Tanutaha. Tanumaha, Tanutha, Tanavanti.
Sangha.
Tanomi, Tanoshi, Tanoti, Tanuvaha, Tanutaha, Tanutaha, Tanumaha, Tanutha, Tanvanti.
And finally, Shiva.
Tanomi, Tanoshi, Tanoti, Tanuvaha, Tanutaha, Tanutaha, Tanumaha, Tanutha, Tanvanti.
Okay, so now we know how to say stretch. He stretches, she stretches. Class 8 only has 8 roots. Okay, so out of all 2,000 plus roots, only has 8 roots. The most roots end in n. There it is, tan. So if you see a root ending in n, probably a class 8. The most common root in class 8 is kr, do, make, perform. A little fun fact, it's not a rule, but it's a fun fact. If kr is prefixed by some or pari, like some and plus kr, some plus kr, then that some plus kr becomes skr. Oh, samskrta. That's how Sanskrit. So how about, what would that mean? Do together, because some means putting together or togetherness. So do together, put together well put. Now this class 8, the kr has irregularities. Now I showed you early in class 1, some roots have irregularities. There's sometimes 1 or 2 of them within the paradigm. They don't quite match the rules that we learned. So this one in particular will have some irregularities, not all throughout, but some. Okay, so kr, this is class 8, Ubhaipada. That means you can either take Atmanepada or Parasmaipada. It means to do, make, or perform. It doesn't just mean to do, but make or perform. It can also be used in many contexts like achieve, attain, undertake, undergo, or anything that has to do with, making things happen. Again, you got stem, karo. This is obviously going to be singular, and you got kuru, which will be dual or plural. Okay, you can also find this on LRB 55 for Parasmaipada or Atmanepada on 56. Okay, so it's going to be like this. I make, you make, or he, she makes or performs. So whichever one you like, maybe perform is a good one. It's an all-rounded definition. So I'll go and you follow. Karomi, I perform. Karoshi, again, internal sandhi, karoshi. Just like tanoshi, karoshi, no difference. You perform. Karoti, he, she, it performs. Kurvaha, we too perform. Kurutaha, you too perform. Kurutaha, they too perform. Kurmaha, we all perform. Kuruta, you all perform. Kurvanti, they all perform.
Karomi, karoshi, karoti, kurvaha, kuruttaha, kuruttaha, kurmaha, kurutta, kurvanti.
Michael?
Karomi, karoshi, karoti, kurvaha, kuruttaha, kuruttaha, kurmaha, kurutta, kurvanti.
Why it's kuruma, the plural way?
Yeah.
What's the sandhi that makes
Yeah,
it?
exactly. It's irregularities. Irregular. and,
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All
why
right.
it's irregular.
Thank you.
It's not all throughout, but just one or two. Okay, Melanie, do this paradigm.
Karomi, karoshi, karoti, kurvaha, kuruttaha, kurutaha, kurmaha, kurutha, kurvanti.
Sophie?
Karomi, karoshi, karoti, kurvaha, kurtaha, kurtaha, kurmaha, kurutha, kurvanti.
Karomi, karoshi, karoti, kurvaha, kuruttaha, kuruttaha, kurmaha, kurutha, kurvanti.
All right, well done. And that has concluded our teaching from page 24 to page 33. Study paradigm on page 31. I mean, I don't know about you, but I will memorize it just by listening to us. And also study a paradigm for kr, which we've also just memorized now. Go over passive verbs on page 37. See these passive verbs. Remember, passive is made, is gone, is protected. A good way to remember passive is just put a in between being. So in other words, for example, a forest is being made. So vanam kriyate, forest is being made. Or food is being made for the guests. Bhojanam atithaya kriyate. This passive is usually used with instrumentals. So how about food is being made by the guests? So bhojanam atithena kriyate. Remember, it's always root plus ya plus atmanepada. You do not end passive with parasmanepada. It's always atmanepada. Let's make a sentence with is protected or is being protected. It's a better way to understand it, is being protected. The army is being protected by Rama. So use obviously Ramena. Okay, Bimao, army is being protected by Rama.
Sena Ramena Gupyate.
How about the garland is being stolen by Sita?
Mala Hitaya Choryate.
I've got a question there. So here, the mala would still say as nominative. It
Exactly,
won't be
exactly.
accusative.
Good,
Okay.
good. So now you can treat these instrumentals as accusative. You
Okay,
can understand better. Children, so prajaha, are led. So instead of niyate, you say niyante, are led by the mother. Children are led by the mother.
Prajaha jananya niyante.
Super. Homework. Go over passive verbs on page 37 and 38. There they are. And create 10 sentences with passive.